Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Jacquelyn Zong-Li Ross, and I'm the art editor of the Capilano Review. I'm very honored to have the pleasure of welcoming you here tonight for the very first reading event in our new monthly reading series, Dear Friends. Thank you to all of you for attending in person, and to everyone by live stream. Thank you also for joining us, and welcome. We are gathered here tonight on the unceded ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, nations who have inhabited this land since time immemorial, and whose stewardship has made it possible for us to live and gather here at all. As an organization primarily run by settlers, we'd also like to call attention to the indigenous name Capilano, an important hereditary title often anglicized as Capilano that has been used without acknowledgement in our journal's title since its founding in 1972. So if you're interested in learning more about the history of this name, we invite you to read a feature essay on the name Capilano that's on our website, and also to follow our upcoming program, Indigenous Places and Names, which is being curated by Associate Editor Susan Blight and will be launched later this month, actually. So for those of you here tonight who may not be familiar with the Capilano Review, TCR is a Vancouver-based nonprofit literary and visual arts journal that is published 3 times a year. Originally founded by Pierre Coupé at Capilano College in 1972, TCR became an independent journal when it left the college in 2015. And just last year also celebrated its 50th anniversary. So now approaching its 150th issue, the Capilano Review's mandate continues to be the presentation of experimental writing and visual art, often in dialogue, often side by side. So if you'd like to learn more about our publication and the work that we do, please come visit us at the merch table after the event. We'd love to talk to you. We have copies of our most recent issue, Bad Feelings, for sale, as well as our 3 special anniversary issues from last year, which are grouped set up kind of as an anniversary glossary set, kind of experimental glossary, so it's alphabetical from A to Z. And also at that table we have a special fundraising print that we produced last year with Billy-Ray Belcourt and artist Charlene Vickers. So if you'd like to purchase one of those of course are available. And finally, I'd like to say, I think it's important to make more widely known that perhaps it is just how important subscriptions are to small literary magazines like ours. So if you like what you hear tonight, please consider purchasing a 1-year subscription to the Capilano Review. It's $45, and that includes shipping. And it basically allows us to continue to operate, so thank you. I'd like to extend a huge thank you to the Western Front for hosting us tonight, and especially to Susan Gibb, who's been collaborating with us for many months on the planning of this series, to my co-host Kiel, Torres, to Ben at the back, AV, and Nathaniel Marchand, and a bunch of others that I just met today. Thank you so much for being here and supporting us on this event. I'd also like to publicly thank the Kootenai School of Writing, whose generous donation to this event also makes this programming possible. So Christian Vistan is our artist in residence for this reading series. Hi, Christian. And they will be cohabitating with us, the open-ended ampersand, at the end of our series title, all year long. So Christian has produced the visual background for tonight's reading, and will be producing new iterations of it each month, accompanied by some slowly unfolding ephemera. Thank you so much, Christian. So before we proceed, just some quick housekeeping. Each of our 3 readers tonight will be reading for 20 minutes each, and there will be no intermission. We're also doing our best to keep everyone safe at this event, so we strongly encourage the use of masks when not eating or drinking. An all-gender washroom is available on this floor, just outside the hall, and an additional 2 washrooms are located downstairs in the foyer. So with that, I'm going to pass the stage to our literary editor, Deanna Fong, who's joining us by video from where she currently is in Edmonton at a conference, followed by Kiel Torres, who will introduce our first reader. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be gathering with you all virtually tonight. My name is Deanna Fong, and I'm the literary editor at the Capilano Review. I'm speaking to you today from my home in Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, a neighborhood in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal, which is situated on the traditional unceded territories of the Kanien'kehá:ka. Since this is our first event, I wanted to take a moment to introduce the series and its curatorial concept. When it came time to give the series a name, we thought about past work that drew from the feelings of community togetherness that we sought to invoke. And Roy Kyoka's 1975 Trans-Canada Letters came to mind. This book details the comings and goings of arts and literary activity, reading events and gallery installations, books published and friends flying in and out of town. Kyoka sees poetry in these activities and not just as the occasion for gathering. Our series, Dear Friends, takes its title from the salutatory address that opens the letters in this book. I mentioned the title to my friend and collaborator, Vancouver poet Danielle Lafrance, and she suggested that it needed to undergo further articulation, a suggestion that I read as in line with her plus sign poetics. And so the ampersand was added as a way to variegate the relations that are represented in this space: friends and family, colleagues, lovers, comrades, you name your own connections. In Trans-Canada Letters, Kyoka evokes the idea of a heart geography, which is a conceptual space that holds all the people who are important to him, regardless of their physical location. While we may not all be in attendance in Vancouver at the Western Front tonight, we want the idea of gathering together in conviviality to extend into the digital space as well, assembling remote and in-person audiences as part of the same heart's geography. We invite any remote participants to attend a virtual after-party on Zoom following the reading. The link is posted in the Vimeo page that you went through to access this stream. I'd like to close by reading a quotation from a 1973 letter that Roy wrote to A Space, where he was to give a reading. After running through the details of arrival times and accommodations, he writes about his role in the event, quote, "The poet proposes to guarantee the following. 1, he will be there as per agreement. 2, he will, as they say, deliver the goods. 3, he will waiver all rights to reproduction. Fuck copyrights is his motto. 4, he will certainly smile and laugh. 5, he will be memorable. Okay, let's get it on." Thanks for being here with us tonight, and enjoy the reading.
Hi, I'm Kiel. I'm so excited to introduce our first reader of the series. Brandi Bird is an Indigiqueer, Saulteaux, Cree, and Métis writer and editor from Treaty 1 territory. Currently, they live and learn on Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam land. Their work has been published in Catapult, Poetry is Dead, Room Magazine, amongst other places, and their first book of poetry, The All in Flesh, is coming out with House of Anansi Press this fall. I had the pleasure of reading a preview of this debut collection, and what continues to resonate with me is the tender attention that Brandi brings to writing through embodiment and refusal, temporality and memory, grief and place. They like to listen to the same song over and over again and love their 3 cats, Babydoll, Burt, and Etta. So please please join me in welcoming Brandi Bird.
Hello, everybody. I'm a little bit nervous, but I like to say I'm nervous so that everyone knows if I fuck up, that's why. Okay, so I have a few poems to read, well, a bunch of them. This poem is from most of them are from my book that's forthcoming, and 2 of them are new poems. Maybe I'll mention if I'm reading the new poem, I don't know, but this first poem is called Brandi is Also Alessio. I changed my user icon on LiveJournal, and girls lose track of my digital face. I am nowhere. Know everything and nothing like the bald face of the moon. I invoke moon because I'm lazy and always have been. It's easy to want to feel celestial when you're looking up at the sky. If only pixelated girls could touch me, feel the curve of my lips. They're Winona Riders and I am nowhere. I invoke nowhere because girls live there. They don't exist in time or space, just float in light and change their faces a swoon on the internet. A girl anonymously accuses me of posting from 2 accounts. Brandi is also Alessio, she writes, and I feel honored to be mentioned at all. The internet makes me real and unreal. I invoke reality because shouldn't I have something to say about it? I have more to say about avoidance, the pith of experience in the real world. I peel the skin off my nails and off around my nails, and my apartment stinks of cat piss. I am 17 and 22 and 30. I am blue and bleached. I am light, or at least the absence of shadow in my bedroom. I am nowhere. Girls post about their mothers and fathers, post their bruised calves, post indie. They are post-human, and so am I. Profound in our collective, a hive of girls rubs themselves raw in real life. Rug burn, and then pictures of rug burn. I post a picture of myself crying, and everything changes. I grow up. Where am I? What is going on here? There we go. This poem is called Fires in October, and it's about last year when we had all those fires in October. So yeah, okay. Fires in October. The heat disorients me. Drought overflows around my body. The world will burn and flood and burn and flood. People will call the weather beautiful in between the rain. An Indian summer and the blurry sunset and my father yelling at my mother before he disappears. My first memory. He comes back again, but different. He hunts duck and deer and moose now. He doesn't teach me how. The world has changed so many times, and for the worse, for the worse. I can't imagine the heat getting any more bearable. I can't imagine my voice cutting through the smoke. A season of pilgrimage to the places that burn. Everywhere burns. I pray for rain, and rain comes, but it's malformed, drops explosive as a gunshot. Rain tears through dirt, and the earth is too desperate for the sky. I am too desperate for the sky. To want is to leave myself open to anything that seems alive but isn't. Flames, the ghost of memory, the flood. The movement as I ignore the past and the future. I can't speak the present out loud, or it will transform into a duck flying, always flying. To live outside time is a gift I want to give back, and the seasons suddenly shift. My father burns pin feathers in a fire pit. I have something to eat tomorrow. That should be enough. This is a new poem, and actually Billy-Ray Belcourt is publishing, or facilitated this getting published in Hazlitt, which is really exciting for me. It's about bulimia, so trigger warning for that. Take care of yourself if you need to. It's called Autobiography, and the weird thing about this poem is I don't use any pronouns, which was like a prompt I made for myself, and me and a few friends did it, so it was really fun, despite the subject matter. Autobiography. This is the beginning of what's certain. Fullness and inevitability. No way out of this pit where the sun shatters into shards tongue between teeth. Vomit the sun. Pluck the light, first with fingers and then with pain, impatient, a room where nausea and radiance hold hands and pray to a living God. Silence. All voices out of sync and ceremony. That's what people do when there are no doors and no windows. Just no roof, just a sky of awe and or anger. Russell's sign healed over, red knuckles, ambiguity when hunger overtakes the day. To be sick in this way is to reject without recourse, orbit around the sun every day in a body that is just a body. Partial paralysis, medication, motility. All memory leads here. The surface of a mirror shines back a moment. Brown hair tied back, ossuary of birds red-throated and rotting as dinner falls into a trash can lined with bags. No apology, sorry, no apology. A meal made out of finger bones, snapped at the joints, thinning out of control. Flush of salt water, bile and rays of sunlight thrust into the mouths of the devout. Worship when the dish is empty. Poetics begin where bulimia ends, where the differential diagnosis is confused by decades of self-made violence. The violence refracts light and crashes into other violences. Poverty, colonialism, God, all prisms that will shatter one day, if not now. Desire rejected will return home, will roost inside home, that bright thing, the curved beak that indicates eagle and not raven. Eat the flesh raw, don't waste a morsel. And this poem here is a nice poem. It's the last poem in my book. I feel like this poem it's called What Joy? It's about joy, and actually in Billy-Ray Belcourt's class, I was a student at UBC when I wrote this poem. I don't remember which class that was, but it was a class at UBC. It's called What Joy? Name me a love name, a name with feathers picked from sidewalks and bound with twine. Create a body of hollows and let me fill them with glass beads and cigarettes. Name me my father and the story he orates when he's drunk on the balcony. Talk about wisdom, a noble bottle of brandy, etymology of family, Fonsine, Delaron, bird, and rat. Break all family names into pieces and watch them turn into stones I throw into Lake Winnipeg. Watch me turn to stone, or a pillar of salt. Other words for still, silent. Other words for weathering the way we love. We are nothing if not forgiving. I'm gonna not read this one, I think. Yeah. So this next poem is a new poem. It's also about bulimia. It seems to be all I'm freaking reading or writing these days. Because I've been recovered from bulimia for 5 years now, after having it for 16 years. So it was pretty all-encompassing in my life for a long time. It's called Relapse. I am called to the edge of tremor and oratory. I have been overlooked for so long. A voice inside me says, evil sinks into your stomach and grows there. I watch what I eat. I feed what is vile. If you let it, if you let it. Categorize the good and bad of myself. Roundness of my face, a memory that was a dream, lie of omission. I will not answer the question of where I have been. I will only explain the blue of the sky in a scatter of language that echoes between me and whoever will listen. Explain what is evident, explain what I see. Ask others what they see when my body stretches in the evening light, golden hour turning me solid. I want to eat the sun. Let its heat replace everyone who has ever left or will leave. Make a shadow over the earth. Make it darker. I will leave this world worse than it was before. Everyone will know I was here first. So this next poem is the first poem I ever really wrote as an adult. It's in my collection. It's after Liz Howard, who inspired me to start writing when I was 26. It's called 1999, and of course it's been heavily edited, but it's very special to me because it's the first poem. It's the first poem that made me realize I could be a poet. Recollect a glacial lake in the eye of my mother, standing in the fan of Lake Agassiz, wide hands on my back against the wind of a leveled plain. Canticle, furtive valley, synchronicity of silt and water split into three by rivers, and me, cold ply of fingers on my sister against walls of neon VLT. Gamble of glacial water, prairie noise, nickel-plated satisfaction of rise of ice on the riverbank, and mother's seasons measured by quarters running low. Who knows her habits? Who knows where she'll be tomorrow? My face reflected in hers, so alike in water, porous, plump, identical. I think I have 3 more poems, so you know. I like to know those things too. Okay. What time is it? Okay. This is about my grandpa. So my grandpa did not live on the reserve as in his later years, but there were still laws in place that said that you couldn't drink off the reserve. Like Native people weren't allowed to drink off the reserve, at least in Manitoba. And so he got caught drinking in Selkirk, Manitoba once at the Lord Selkirk Hotel, and was put in the drunk tank. And I found this in the Selkirk Journal archive, this piece of family trivia, horrible family trivia, and posted it in my family group on Facebook. And everyone was like, that must be another Ronald Charles Bird. It must be another one. It couldn't have been him. And that's ridiculous. There was no other Ronald Charles Bird in this tiny town in Manitoba, but there was a lot of shame, I guess. But I think it's kind of, I don't know, it seems like a special piece of family, of my heritage, to know that my grandpa had a good time and he liked having a good time. So I wrote this poem. The Selkirk Journal archive. My namesake is deep red, burgundy, brandy rust on his lips. In red rose tea in white Pyrex glass at the Lord Selkirk Hotel we simply call God. He and his friend, natives like spruce trees, have skin hard as bark. Both are arrested drinking off reserve. Caged, kept in the drunk tank overnight with handcuffs that bit like barn cats. Off reserve is a plot of land in East Selkirk. He fishes beside it with a silver and bone flask in his shirt. His hands smell like bait and tobacco and my grandma's perfume. He ownerships, sells fish wholesale, and raises 17 kids with the profits. Drinking off reserve, he and his friend, natives like pickerel, alcohol to numb the currents of the Red River. His blue boat, his brown nets, his red skin, all flattened in the prairie sun. Sheen of sweat, a hangover, he wakes up in the clothes he wore yesterday. $22.30 to the judicial body for the burn through his body, a privilege to lose himself like I'm lost. We live in each other's veins. I feel it in a shot of whiskey, the tree his ashes are spread under. Today, that tree is on private property. I sing a mansion on the hill. I ownership and drink at the Lord. I ownership and trespass. And this is also a true story, this next poem, unfortunately. It's called When You Find Out the Boy You First Kissed Is Dead, and there's a trigger warning for suicide and fentanyl poisoning. When you find out the boy you first kissed is dead, you are in a bed that's not your own reading of his obituary in the Winnipeg Free Press. You learn that obituaries are apolitical by design. They hide our real positions, they hide our faces. This obituary hides that this boy died from an overdose, that he was poisoned by the state, that he would still be alive with safe supply. You find out because you Google his name plus your hometown, ask your sister who still lives there, and she knows all the gossip, the good stuff, and find out he's been an addict for years. You don't know how to feel, startled by an emptiness. You think about your cousin who died the same way, your other cousin who took her own life, and you are grotesque in your remembering. You unfeel, numb like an object, the hairbrush on your side table. The boy you first kissed leaves behind his sister and his brother, his mother and his father, and you think about the word leaves as if he had the choice to stay and didn't want to make it. You think about the times you made the choice to leave, half-hearted, always dragging yourself to the ER because truthfully you were afraid to die. You just wanted someone to know you were alive. See, you think, see me. And you bring this boy's death back to yourself because you don't know how to anticipate your reactions. What if your sisters die, your father? What if you die in your sleep unknowing and there is nothing afterwards? You think of a kiss so chaste and underwhelming you barely remember you did it. This is my last poem. It's called Ars Poetica, or Ocean Vuong wrote Loneliness is Still Time Spent with the World. And it's for my neighbor, Zara, my old neighbor, Zara. She's a very lovely person, and I really miss her. My neighbor quotes Vuong, and we both smoke on the deck of our social housing complex. And I know then that there is hope until I die, and then there is other people's hope. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brandi. I'm so moved. Beni xiao. Hey, Beni. Beni xiao is a Virgo artist and author of Bad Egg, published by Ralia's Ghost Press in 2017. They live on the traditional and unceded territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, and Squamish First Nations people. I first encountered Beni's work in our current issue, Bad Feelings. I'm going to hold it up for you. Which was guest edited by 3 co-editors, Afua, Jestej Ledoux, and Fen Stewart, and was just immediately charmed by the directness and humor of Beni's first-person voice and the honest way they managed somehow to put a flashlight to things that could be one or at the same time funny, sad, menacing, and true. Beni is usually asleep, but you can find them on the internet at Very Small Bear. Thank you, Beni.
Thank you for that introduction. That was really nice. Hi, I'm Beni. I don't know why I didn't include this in my bio, but I feel like contextually it might be important to know, given because of my work. But I am queer and also genderqueer and also disabled and also Chinese. The first poem I'm going to read was published in this anthology called Queer Little Nightmares. This is an anthology of queer writers writing about monsters in pulp fiction, monsters in pop culture and their relationships with them. It was edited by David Lee and Daniel Zamparelli, who are also both really talented queer writers, and it was published by Arsenal Press in the fall of last year. I have a poem in here called Naga Mark Ruffalo Dream, which I will be reading for you. If you don't know what a naga is, it's a mythical creature with it's like the body and tail of a snake and then the like upper torso of a person. So like a mermaid, but like a snake. And if you don't know who Mark Ruffalo is, he is an actor who... He's an actor, okay. So, Naga Mark Ruffalo Dream. Last spring, I dreamt that I was walking through a forest before being knocked out by a Naga lady and regaining consciousness in the dream, not in real life, in the secret Naga lair, where I'm presented as an intruder to the king of Nagas. It's Mark Ruffalo. Shirtless with a long, shiny, dark gray snake tail. Dream me is thinking, damn, Naga Mark Ruffalo is kind of sexy, LOL. And Naga Mark Ruffalo says to me, who sent you and how did you find us here? And I'm like, huh? I was just walking through the forest and your friend knocked me out and brought me here. Naga Mark Ruffalo is like, a likely story, and starts wrapping his sexy naga tail around my body to try and threaten me into telling the truth, except A, I was already telling the truth, and B, this is not actually scary, but rather hashtag arousing. So Dream Me is like, please sir, I'm not lying. I think he misreads my embarrassed arousal for fear, so he wraps himself tighter around me and grabs my face and sneers at me to tell the truth. I look him dead in the eyes and I say, I am, but it comes out sort of as a moan. I blush with mortification. I think that's when he realizes that I'm not scared but turned on, and also that I'm telling the truth. He too looks mortified and loosens his grip on me. Just then, I wake up. Suddenly, I'm real me, blinking at sunlight, just as bewildered and embarrassingly aroused by Naga Mark Ruffalo as Dream Me was. I keep hoping I'll find my way back to his lair in my dreams while avoiding Mark Ruffalo movies in real life. Okay, the next set of poems that I'm reading are published in the Cap Review's most recent issue, the Bad Feelings issue. I have like 8 poems in here, but I'm only reading some of them. The first one is called Termite Dream. It's actually also based on a dream that I had. I'm gonna content warning for body horror for this one. Okay, Termite Dream. I have these recurring nightmares where termites burrow into my skull, but they're not digging straight lines. They work meticulously in circles, like they're water spiraling in a whirlpool down the sink, except the sink is my head, and there's no drain, only my brain, and then they flood it and make a home in my veins. Sometimes the dream is actually, all the termites are me, and it's your veins I've made my home in, and you're asking me if I'm comfortable. And the answer is no, I want to die. But I've already ruined your skull, so it would seem rude to say that I hate this, so I lie. Sometimes it seems like a normal dream where I'm like doing normal stuff, but then I look in the mirror and I see my hair falling out or like a glimpse of a bug, and I'm like, uh-oh, and I look closer and it's termites and it's the termite dream. Other times I'll again be doing normal stuff and won't realize it's a termite dream until I scratch my head. And then on my hand, there will be crushed bug bits, and I'm once again like, uh-oh, termite dream. Other times I scratch, but instead of bug bits on my hand, I scratch and it feels like soft and wet. And I look at my hand and it's blood and brain bits because the termites have already burrowed through my skull and I've just like accidentally clawed off part of my exposed brain. And then I'm like, haha, that can't be good. Also, wait, termite dream. That was a recurring dream I had for about a decade. I don't think I've had it now for a couple years though. I write a lot about my dreams because I have a lot of dreams, because I sleep a lot, because I have narcolepsy. Now you know. This next poem is called Pandemic, Pandemonium, Pantomime, Pandora's Box. Last year I let my hair grow and grow an inch for every friend who's left the city. Find myself hating the ones who didn't. I cut my hair off, start again. Listen to the same 2 songs on repeat for months until I don't know a single other sound. Play video games till my eyes hurt, walk to the park, lie in the grass till evening. Go home sun-sated, read Hisoka X Illumi fanfiction, stumble into the kitchen, wishing that wasn't what did it for me. Later, you'll text me and I'll think, oh, so now you miss me. But I won't reply. Eat a peach over the kitchen sink while thinking, don't you wish every day was as easy as this? Okay. This poem is called Two Birds, One Reluctant Stone Cold Nest Destroyer. It is very unfortunately based on a true story. The worst thing that happened to me in 2021 was actually a thing that I did. It was a horrible thing that I did to 2 birds, and I will explain it to you now. It was May. I think it was a Sunday. I'd slept with my windows open, okay, and I guess when I was sleeping, 2 house sparrows decided to start building a nest on the inside ledge of my open bedroom window, like literally inside my room, 2 feet from me sleeping. I thought that most of those like little bird guys were like pretty afraid of people. Like I get that I was asleep and not moving that much, but like, huh? And then so I wake up, right, to these 2 motherfucking birds cheerfully bringing little sticks to my windowsill and like hanging out, and I am looking at them dumbfounded, like, hello? Hello? So I say to them, hello? And they, I swear to God, they just look at me like so chill, like, oh, hey dude, you're awake. And just like keep vibing on the windowsill. And for like one shining moment, I considered that we could coexist. Like they keep building their nest, we become roommates, some Disney princess shit. Unfortunately, after that one shining moment, reality hits me, and I know that it won't work for logistical and weather and health and safety reasons. I have read a lot about how humans should approach and act around specific common urban animals. I know that if this was a completed nest, the right thing to do would be to move it intact somewhere outside nearby. But it's just like 20 little twigs and bits of grass. And I'm in a condo a few floors up, and these birds are trying to move into my bedroom with me. So I wait till they've left again, and with a heavy heart, I push their little sticks out the window while whispering sorry repeatedly like a mantra. I close the window, cry while I pick up the remaining sticks that have spilled off of my windowsill and onto my nightstand on the floor. I open the window again, drop them outside, thinking maybe they can still use these when they rebuild their nest. I use Lysol wipes to clean the window and the windowsill and my nightstand. I spray fabric disinfectant on the carpet. I wash my hands. When the birds come back next, they flap confusedly outside of my window, and I look at them, hoping that I can telepathically convey my sadness and sorry to them. One of the birds is like hover flapping outside of the window, and the other bird is like fluttering around the first bird. And I'm sitting on my bed, making eye contact with the first bird and chanting I'm sorry in a hushed tone, hoping that they understand that I didn't want to betray them. I just didn't think I had another choice. I wish they would understand that, but I don't feel like I deserve their understanding. A part of me is just so bewildered, like what the fresh hell were those birds thinking, moving into my house with me? Why were they not afraid? But mostly I cry for the rest of the day, hear them chirping nearby for the rest of the summer. I wish them well and hope they found a better home somewhere than they did with me. Phew, that was maybe the longest poem I've ever written and then had to read. Okay, this poem is called Seems like both a scam and a design flaw that the most important thing you need to achieve and maintain a healthy body is to have a healthy body in the first place. And the poem goes, I mean, come on. Okay. Thank you. Okay, how am I doing for time? Okay. The next couple poems I have are unpublished as of yet. The first one is about my grandma, and I wrote it in 2020 around, I think it was spring, summer 2020, and the pandemic had been like in full swing for a couple months. My grandma regularly lives in Ontario. At the beginning of 2020, she had gone back to China to visit relatives, and then the pandemic hit while she was there, and China closed its borders. And she got stuck there for like 2.5 years. Like she was supposed to be there for like, I think a month and a half to visit. And she didn't get back until last summer, actually. This was also around the time when there was a rise in hate crimes towards Asian people in America. So this poem is about those things. It's called Being the Bird. My ancestors' love is ghost bird crying over cracked egg on the wrong side of the ocean, heard in haphazard spill of morning light, seeping inside fractured shell. I claw my way out, more out of necessity than readiness. As always, we move forward because we have no other choice. Lalo video calls me to tell me she might not come back when the pandemic is over. Grief of missing her clashes with relief that she'll be safer in Beijing than in Toronto clashes with grief that we even have to worry. First, we stayed home because of the pandemic, then the racists. The media keeps demanding our thoughts on the rise of hate crimes against our community, but that in itself feels like a hate crime. Speaking feels like translating birdsong to heartache to radio static. How do we say we are mourning, but we have always been mourning in a way they will understand? When I no longer even know how to tell Lalo I love her, I hope she knows anyway. I think she might. When she tells me it's enough just to see my face from inside iPhone screen, she says all she wants is to make dumplings together. I think of the entire Pacific Ocean between us, no birdsong or beat of wing capable of reaching across, and yet we both watch every single wave crashing into opposite shore like a Morse code message saying, please hold or end of the world pending. Contrary to what that poem says, I actually can speak Mandarin. And I just lost my balance. All right. I'm just sharing anecdotes now because I don't have, it's fine. 2 days ago, I was like out on the street, like living my life. And I was like in a very relaxed, casual outfit. Like I was wearing like distressed jeans and like a shirt that had like paint splatter on it because I'd like painted my apartment in it 2 years ago or something. And I was walking and there was like this like little toddler, like a little Chinese toddler and her like mom or whatever. And like, I don't know if they just, I don't know. I think I give off a vibe to other Chinese people of someone who doesn't know the mother tongue for some reason. Because this is like not the first time someone's like said something about me in front of me very loudly in Mandarin. And I can only imagine they do it because they think I don't understand. But this toddler like looked at me and my outfit, I guess, and was like, damn, this person's really dirty, pretty much. Or like, whatever. And like her mom maybe had the thought that like I might have understood. Because she was like super flustered and then said in Mandarin basically like, no, I think that's just big sister's style. And I thought this was the funniest thing. Like, I mean, it's fine. Children. I love children. This next poem is called Poem from the Past Life of a Dying Video Game Character Before Respawning at Their Last Save Point. That feel when no matter how much you sleep, you always wake up exhausted, am I right? Hee hee, haha. Right now, my veins are a tangle of wires and I don't know how to fix that, but my hands seem to be working somehow. They itch to unravel the world, I don't know why. I'm looking for something specific, I think. A power-up, a secret tunnel, a rewind button maybe. Are you tired? I'm tired. Hey Siri, why was it never enough? Why is it still not enough? Why does my heart ache like it does and for something I can't even place? When you're sad, what do? Write another sad song, paint another pretty picture, big deal. You think being a poet means something? It doesn't. Maybe I'm just bitter. Wishful thinking won't get either of us through the next boss fight. You want all the silence in the world and you can have it. You can have it all, enough to live by and drown in. What the fuck is a level anyway? Here's a poem I wrote in another lifetime when I was someone whose feelings and body were connected beyond flavor text over customizable hat over body model in idle pose. The body is a love story that will end in bones tangled in earth, as it should be, as it was always meant to be. Okay. I have like 2 more poems, but I might not read one of them. Many thoughts. No, okay, I'm reading them both, sorry. Okay, the next poem is called Why Are You Brushing Your Hair in the Sea? And it's a love poem. Why are you brushing your hair in the sea? The clouds in this city drift like jellyfish, like lazy sharks in gray water sleeping. It makes sense that I find you here, gentle thing swimming, a part of the storm. How you've grown since you were perched on some rock in the English Channel with something to prove, perhaps. A mermaid who might have been asked, why are you brushing your hair in the sea, by a sailor right before he drowned, and you watched the bubbles, the ripples, the sky caressing the sea crashing endlessly into the sky in return. I see only the softness of your hair in the waves, seamless and silent, while the sun finds its home in the ocean, through whose window we can see that the moon is a mirror reflecting the image of you brushing your hair. The sun, look at the sun, frozen in time, and the moon brighter than it's ever been. The moon is on fire. The moon is on fire and the ocean is ours. The moon is on fire and the ocean is ours. Okay, last poem, it's short. It's called An Acorn, a Thimble, a Kiss. A long time ago, you bought me a rose. I keep a petal inside my copy of Peter Pan, where they can both live forever. Thank you.
Hey, I'm back. Thank you, Benny. Excited to introduce our third and final reader of tonight. Billy-Ray Belcourt is from the Driftpile Cree Nation. He is an assistant professor and Canada Research Chair in the School of Creative Writing at the University of British Columbia, and is the author of 4 books. Yeah. This Wound is a World, Indian Coping Mechanisms, Notes from the Field, A History of My Brief Body, and a minor chorus. Something that I really love about Billy-Ray's work is his hybrid approach to genre and form. In his writing, longing and hope reside in the spaces between poetry, prose, and theory, making room for generative aches to emerge through language. So, without further ado, Billy-Ray Belcourt.
Hello. I emerged through language with a jean jacket on. So lovely to be here. Thank you all for being here. It's always a pleasure to be in conversation with other poets. And shout out to the Capilano Review for putting this together. I'm going to read some poems and maybe a bit from my novel. We'll see. I'm going to read from these new poems I have called the Cruising Utopia Sonnets. I wrote by gathering keywords and phrases in Jose Esteban Munoz's Cruising Utopia and building around them. The aim wasn't merely to replicate his language, though at times I do, but rather, and more, I think, difficultly, to collaborate with the text in order to make something distinct, in order to write what I think is a kind of mixed or plural autobiography. We are not yet what we touch. Our historical consciousness is daydream-like. memory, and enduring indeterminacy. It seems useful to open a book and traverse it. The modern world, wow, gee. Some men exude an alienating presentness. There's no other way to put it. I am constantly astonished. I am like a painting. The clouds can be reshaped into two poets. One is an old man who hums. The other is you. In the field of thought images, I wasn't a failure. Queerly, I favor tragedy over luxury. The very idea of light must be worth something. I must be something worth glancing at. I must be something worth glancing at, even if, like all natives, I begin in a text from the past. I'm not naive. North America doesn't exist. Queer people will be free. The current political regime will erode. History is a type of affective excess. It leaks like a long novel. Oh, the grandness of an unspectacular Friday, a train barreling toward a country of ecstasy. I identify as an example of a quotidian life. I experience bliss. I look happy in photographs. What I need, a contagious happiness, an enclave of the future, a forest field around my heart. The human condition is a maniacal and oddball endeavor. Ephemeral traces and flickering illuminations are synonyms for the body. Rejoice, the present is a dead end. What is a body in the present tense? What is mourning but a queer fatherland we can make claim to? I want to believe in the possibility of an existing gay life world, but time is a form of bad faith. Once, I met up with a man who refused to show his face on the dating app. Kissing, he felt the small knife in my pocket, but didn't care. My life is an autobiographical fiction. There is a section of my life called Great Anonymous Sex, and it's mostly lies and awkward anecdotes. My redemption has been lost and is yet to come. Still, I'd redo it all, if only for the rare moments when, in the vista of a libidinal economy, I was no longer an imprisoned subject. In the prison house of the subject, I was economical. I only wanted a song to sing on the dance floor of a false reality. All natives live somewhere between the modern and postmodern. Most days, I'm a wind-up man, waltzing into an account of time, space, presence, absence, wholeness, etc. It is very human. The way a man, during a threesome in Edmonton, left so that his friend and I could better experience a reconstructed intimacy. When I was younger, I sometimes logged onto Grindr while visiting family in northern Alberta. There were very few profiles, but most of them belonged to other Native men. One man told me he sometimes drove as long as 4 hours for a single brief hookup. We are meeting for the first time in this sonnet. There are two kinds of sonnets, the ones we meet in and the ones we leave behind. Is my life, in fact, historical if I imagined I would be dead by now? What counts as a queer poem? The poem hanging in the air like rain? The poem I make of my hands when I hold the past like a dead bird? I pretend I'm burying the past when I'm actually burying myself. It's a game, we're at the beach, and I'm not afraid to kiss my boyfriend in front of homophobes, some of whom aren't really homophobes, they just haven't refused a certain kind of finitude yet. Men represent a certain kind of finitude. Somehow, love is still a case study in singing. I'm less so a man and more so a song or an edict. It took just one man to invent me. I was a good idea once. A man is a good idea when the lights are out and your life feels amazingly painful. Oh, Faith, that dysfunctional little house with shiny windows. Irony. The last place I want to be is in a room full of men. What if Munoz is right and the world really is a degraded zone of random violence? What shape must our poems take? Maybe a sonnet can be a gay space that is weirdly liberating. We all live on after our dematerializations as a transformed materiality. Our longings are so rarely pure and simple. I love the small gestures that permit us. I love being intent to be lost. I love how much queer sense we make, even when we're sad and defeated. I have an articulate message for all of you. At worst, to exist is painfully amazing. We all exist in painful proximity to the future. Sadly, it never arrives. The present is full of people without a future. I think utopia is the name we give to the rooms in which we feel more alive than dead. In one of my old bedrooms, my bed sat in front of a huge mirror. Sometimes, while having sex, I'd look at the mirror. Dear former lovers, I'm sorry I was always finding ways to be less present. I'm sorry that I was more aroused by an image than real life. When I write about us in the past tense, we seem more alive. When I write about us in the present tense, the poem becomes a eulogy. As far as I know, all of us are still living. We can still become what we once touched. And I'm going to turn to the novel and read from a section of it called Memory, and then the subsequent section called Hegemony. All week, I'd been trying to remember someone who was still alive. To die is to recede from the present. So in a way, I thought Jack had been living out a kind of social death. I wanted there to be a word for when history dictates that we stand in the middle of paradox like a doorway and not budge. Today, language was the sky falling onto me. Language was also something that hadn't been invented yet. The summer Jack and I were 13, we both worked on the res as seasonal student laborers. Mostly we mowed grass, added new coats of paint to various buildings, and helped with construction projects. It was the only economic opportunity available to us. After one shift, a number of us decided to drive our quads into the forest to hang out at a secluded stretch of river, as close to a private oasis as we could get. What was most important about the river was that it somehow felt untouched by the world. For a few hours, we lived in the magnificence of this feeling. As Indigenous youth, we were experts at doing so. We slept in the sun and played volleyball on the sandy embankment, and Jack and one of our coworkers made out in the water, and we let the unboundedness of their passion free us a little. Eventually the others left, and it was just Jack and me amidst the trembling poplars. Without prompt, he said, "You know, I don't think I'll ever leave here. I don't think there's anywhere nearly this beautiful." I returned to my hotel room, determined to write, but nothing happened. I remembered reading Auden, who said that poetry makes nothing happen. I felt like the poets in this regard, insofar as I wanted my future novel to be like a valley of its making, to not be seen as someone trespassing onto already stolen land. I opened Grindr and saw that Graham was hundreds of kilometers away, and so I measured my loneliness in kilometers. It was an experience of distance. I walked over to the A&W across the parking lot to buy a burger. The walls were plastered in black and white photographs of older versions of the restaurant. What was nostalgia, if not a kind of hunger? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Billy-Ray, Brandi, Benny. Thank you. That was so wonderful. I couldn't be more thrilled. This has been such a great reading. Please, if you like what you heard tonight, please mark your calendars. This will be happening again next month. So next month, on Thursday, June 1st. We'll be reading number 2 in our Dear Friends reading series, and we're very excited to welcome for that event Leanne Dunick, Christina Holman, and Dallas Hunt. So that's our star lineup, and we would love to see you again. So we'll be announcing the invitation and full event details for that in a few weeks. Otherwise, thank you so much to everyone who's here in person, everyone who's on here on the live stream. Please come say hi to us at the merch table if you'd like, grab a drink. Otherwise, we'll see you again next month. Thank you.